Hello again everyone, Eb with you, another episode of Queensland Abandoned Mines. Now what you're going to see today was an explore that was done well back in November that was originally meant to be part one of part two. Now huge mission to get down to this part of Queensland. It's actually nestled down near the Queensland-New South Wales border. And the original explore was November in 2021 and we plan to get back down there in January or February of 2022. But a lot can change in a couple of months, meaning that this place is now off limits. A couple of friends that we made, some locals that were staying at the hotel that we were while we were in town, have informed us that the mountain is now very much off limits. So a bit of a sit rep on that in terms of what we do and how many mines we've got left to explore. There's around about 15,000, probably a lot more undocumented mines in Queensland now. 80% of those are on freehold lease land. Now, trying to access those is tough. There's ATLS searches and property requirements and all kinds of things you've got to do to make sure you get on there with the proper permission. So that doesn't leave too many of the original abandoned mine workings that are in Queensland. Now, around about 80% of what's left is indeed filled in. So you can sort of do the maths on that and start to understand why we've got to drive so far to get to these workings. So the workings we're at today, around about a 15-hour return trip. 2 nights in the town down near the border, and sadly we cannot return for a part two. And I guess the highlight is that we were able to share this episode with you today. So the valley that these mines are in now has big RC drilling rigs going up. It's all gated, and it does indeed sound like there is some major works that's going to be going on soon, or at least some exploration works. And I can only pray and hope that the old workings don't get absolutely blown to smithereens. And just while we're talking about mining and history preservations, really just want to go back to the last explore that we were on, which is the story of Coppermine Creek, and just really acknowledge how good a job they've done at preserving that area. All the old boilers are there, all the mines are really well preserved. You can even see the old rail trails that sort of switch back through the hills. There are not many sites like that left in Queensland, and if you ever do come across those sites, we just ask you to treat them with the utmost of respect. Don't really know how much of it goes on in Australia, but there are some people that do some really crazy stuff with abandoned mines, graffiti. They take artefacts out of them. The last site we're at was on the historical register of Queensland, so even if you take one brick or deface any of the old workings that are there and the old boilers and old retort house and chimneys, you can face a lot of trouble and up to $5,000 fine. So, just be mindful of that and be really respectful. And let's hope this place doesn't get completely obliterated. So on to more info about the actual trip. This was hands down the most dangerous adventure that we'd ever been on. It has nothing to do with the actual mines and mine workings. It's the heat. We actually went back on the BOMS archives and we found out that the day that I explored this particular hill, or the valley that's over the back of the hill, was one of the hottest November days that this town's ever had on record. And now the route that I went up on the hill, though I had some advice from Blake that it was definitely not a good idea, I was really determined to get past some of the older workings on the way up the hill. And truth be told, I almost didn't make it up there. Tons of lantana. If you love lantana, you're going to love this episode. I don't know who would love lantana, but if you do, you're in for a treat. And by the time I got up to the hill, I was in like a zombie-like state. And when I finished exploring, and there's a small team of us that do it now, 3 or 4 of us, I'll always send a raw file, unedited file. And the file that I sent to Blake on this particular adventure a few nights later was called the Great Lantana Survey of 2021. And that's because at one stage I was completely surrounded by almost like a velodrome of lantana. So really cool workings. We drove 15 hours to document this one and share this with you guys because the workings are some of the oldest in Queensland. Really, really significant historical site when you look at the timeline, which we actually put together in this episode so you can see where it sits. So, hectic adventure, almost died from heat exhaustion, some really cool mines. But just for now, sit back, thanks for tuning in and enjoy today's episode. Hello again guys, welcome back to another episode. Ed with you. We're back in the bush and we're excited about today. Today's been about a 7.5 hour drive to get down here. Overnight stay, and it's way too far to get home after our big day of exploring today. Hopefully we're meeting up with Blake, so another night somewhere on the way back north. We're not going to mention where we are today, but we're excited to be here because it's one of the oldest gold discoveries in Queensland. So gold was discovered sort of early 1850s, and there's a reef here. It was called the Monte Carlo Reef, and that was discovered in 1860.
The reason why we're not going to divulge the info is because of all of our mine maps. Actually, just while I'm talking, I've actually just stumbled on my first little 2 workings of the day. I'll give you guys a geese. On the historical maps, there's meant to be 3 declines going into the bank. That more just looks like a little prospecting hole. That may have gone down at one stage. The floods have silted it up. And we've got the remnants of a much bigger one over this side. I'll just extend my GoPro so you guys can have a look down. I've already stuck my head down. It doesn't look like it goes anywhere. That may have at one stage. Yeah, but where we are today, on our maps, it shows that there is, oh, I just got to get out here for a sec, over 160 shafts. And the methodology of the miners of the old time was what they referred to on some of the mine reports as potholing. They didn't deem them deep enough to be called shafts. I don't think hardly any of them were timbered. And that first gold rush up here started as early as 1860. Yeah, and on the reports that we've got, it's like a consolidated mining wardings report from around 1902, 1903, but it does span back to about 1887. They do note that even in 87, there's a couple of workings here that were well established with an unknown start date. But the reason why we're not giving away the location, it's probably only about a 25 kilometre square area, but with 160 shafts and the methodology that the old time miners were using. So what they were doing, they were sinking these potholes down into the ground. They'd find free gold at the top, they'd sink them down, and then what they'd do is they'd try and drop it onto the quartz, which is where they found the free gold in the quartz. And then what they'd do, they'd actually use little stopes or crosscuts to join the two. Now, in the report that we've read, it said about 80% of those had failed, even way back in 1903. So imagine if you're walking a 25 square kilometre area, and there's about 150 plus shafts, 90% of which have failed. You can probably imagine that it's a pretty sketchy place to visit. That's why we won't be naming it. But super cool history. The Monte Carlo Reef slices through the hill up the top here. Like I said, discovered in 1860. It's actually right up on top of the hill. We'll get up there in a minute. And it was into massive black slates. And I think the deepest shaft up there is about 195 feet. Most of them about 60 feet, and then that's when the claims were abandoned. They either hit water or the quartz vein petered out or decreased in value. So today's going to be a good day. I've already been stung by a huge wasp right on the inside of my leg. It's one of those massive black and orange ones, XL size. I don't know what sort it is, maybe I'll put it up. I just haven't ventured too far from the path because I don't get stung by wasps too often. Just want to make sure I don't have an adverse effect and pass out in the bush somewhere by myself. Now here we go, guys. This is our second little clue of the old workings. This would be a classic example of potholing. That is a mullock heap. It is tiny. And where we are now, we would be on the most southwestern corner of the reef. And apparently the reef splintered off into lots of little leaders and didn't really pay off. That's why we're not expecting to see any of the major workings down here. But yeah, way back in the days, as early as 1860, these little potholes further up the hill would have actually paid off some good gold. And then there would have been some later miners that might have claimed it up that sunk it down further. Now the deepest shafts here didn't really seem to be sunk by the will of the miners and the claim owners. I think the 3 biggest shafts here, one's to the northeast of the main claim, one smack bang in the middle, and then one just to the south. They were all government subsidised. And it really does sound like, when you read the detail, that they just took the government's money, sunk the shaft down another 100 feet. Obviously they were expecting to hit much more profitable gold. And then for the most part, all of those subsidised workings were abandoned when they hit water, claiming they didn't really have good enough pumps to pump out the water. And it seems to be a problem even right up on top of the hill. Everyone claims to have hit water about the 50 or 60 foot mark. So we might be expecting some flooded workings today. All right, back to the car, get my gear, and we're going to start the trek up the hill. It's going to be a fun day today. Time for a sit rep. Today's not going amazing. It is so hot. I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to have company today. They had some car troubles on the way out here. Really hot, and seeing as a prospect of being solo, one thing you should never do, which is try and access anything vertical, mines or anything by yourself. The walk has been made hard from these things. I've now been stung by 3 wasps. I've lost the wind filter for my GoPro mic, so hopefully the audio is not too crappy. But yeah, we've stumbled across this. So I'll just extend the GoPro out and give you a look at this. So the department has sealed this one up really well. Barbed wire, trespassing signs, and then rebar all the way out to the collar. You can see this is the black slates they were mining into that I mentioned earlier. So through these you should see some of the little quartz stringers that they were after. So they're varied between about 2 centimetres, and the widest part under the mine at the top of the hill was 7 feet wide. Alright, we'll just trek over here, just have a look at this one. There's another big shaft over here. So yeah, today has been hard going. But these 2 shafts are probably a good example of, or a good reflection of all of the mining that was done up here. I know when we first started exploring mines, we started with a push bike and a light from Big W. And we just had these ideas that we'd get off our push bike and just walk into these big old declines. Had no idea, especially in Queensland compared to some other states, I'd say 98% of the workings we find are all vertical. So the method of mining here, 2 shafts here, this is cool. Maybe a third. So we've got a shaft over here. So the strike would be travelling along this way. And they'd be sinking these shafts down. I think the average was about 60 feet. Oh, this is cool, you can get a much better look at this one. And then when they hit the good ground at a certain depth, they would tunnel across. And if it was really good value, then they would actually do some stoping underground. So that's what the mine warden said, that the ground between these 2 shafts, in some areas, not all, could be quite hazardous to walk over because of the cavities that lay underneath them. Alright, I'll just extend the GoPro over that one, guys, give me a sec. We've got another one over here. Another one over here with a timber collar. Oh, this shaft's actually timbered. That's cool. That's really cool. See the big timber collar still intact. That's awesome. Go around and see if we can get a better view from the other side. That's awesome. You can see that first part of the timber supports, the lagging there is about to give way. There's some water that's washing behind it. But that there, guys, that's again, on the reports there was workings up here as late as the 1880s with an unknown start date. So, you know, we're not far off saying that these are some of the oldest mines in Queensland. This one was a beauty. All right, let's keep trekking. Oh boy, this is hard going. It's hot. Keep following past like this. I just keep getting to sections like this. We've got our GPS so we know. It's really hard because when Google Maps was laid down the photos here, none of this lantana was here. And then you got to cut through these forests of like prickly pear, these big cactuses. You don't want to get any of those on you, they sting. Oh, we've come too far to go back, so that is the way forward. Oh man. This is really tough going. So you pick a little spot there, like that little ravine, and then it just dead ends. I'm pretty sure Blake's going to be on a dirt track somewhere and laugh at me when he sees how much shit I got stuck to my legs. I hope the audio's not too stuffed up, guys. So you keep coming at all these clearings. They almost look like the old trails, and they all just dead end. Wait. It's a pretty spot. The bush is not well kept. Doesn't look like there's been a fire up here for, oh, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years. This undergrowth is just out of control. Speaking of fires, if there was one, this would not be a good place to be right now. So at the moment I'm just trying to follow the little kangaroo trails. Looks like we could be onto a winner here. Might just throw you up a quick 2-minute video of all the gold discoveries within the state of Queensland, so you guys can see how old and how significant this site is. Some of the workings here are the oldest gold found in Queensland. In fact, I think the oldest gold found in Queensland, I think might be at Gatton or the Darling Downs, which really isn't too far from here.
Don't want to slow the video down too much, so I just want to give you guys a really quick, maybe 1.5 minute timeline of gold discoveries in Queensland. So starting where we are today was the Monte Carlo Reef of 1860. Now, a couple of different reports say that reef was opened up, which means they were sinking shafts down into it by the year of 1861. So you look at some of those shafts. Now, some of those shafts you're going to see around about a third of the way into this video. So those shafts are 162 years old. Some are timbered, some are uncollared. Now, gold was first discovered in Queensland in Darling Downs in 1850. You got Canoona Rockhampton discovery of 1858, and we've just got a bit of a mishmash of sort of all these old photos. You can understand there's not too many historical photos. Photography was a very rare thing in the 1850s and 1860s. Now, obviously, we jump forward to Gympie. They got almost 4 million ounces in total. We've got Charters Towers from 1872, so that's another important part of the Queensland timeline for gold discovery. I think they put about 6 million ounces out of there. And just to cover off really quickly, just so you guys can get an idea of what was happening in Queensland at that time, the population of Queensland all the way back in the 1850s was only 28,000. So a very small population. Now, by the time we get to 1873, which is the last part of our timeline at Palmer River, the population had gotten to 146,000, mostly attributed to the discovery and these big gold rushes, just getting people to flood into the states. Now, that population had doubled by 1883. So by the years of 1873 and 1883, Queensland had cracked 300,000.
So this definitely breaks the record for the oldest mine that we've ever searched for. Also the biggest mission. 2 nights and roughly 13, 14 hours in a car. That's what we got to do. Oh, I got to catch my breath. This is hardcore. We're really close. We're coming up on the old workings right at the top of the hill. Still bush bashing though. And again, we're going to hold off on naming today's location for a couple of reasons. Number one, the workings that we've seen so far are pretty well sealed off. But the workings at the top of the hill are a slightly bigger scale. The other thing is that we've heard the rangers out here do not mess around. We just parked up next to a dude that was having lunch down in the creek. He's just come back from a prospecting area, I think about 10 k's northwest, and we could see his gold monster in the boot of his truck. Just had some cheese and bickies, having a sneaky daytime beer, and asked if he wanted to follow us up or if he was going to go for a detect, and he said absolutely not. He said the rangers out here do not play. They've been known to issue enormous fines. It's a state park, so you can't prospect. Oh my God, another dead end. There is no prospecting up this way. I didn't know you could be fined. And he said, if you get caught, then you could be in big trouble. And his metal detector was worth 9.5 grand. We're getting close, guys. I think I've got a tiny bit of bush bashing left, and we're out. But it's going to be hardcore. Looks like I'm going to have to trek through here. Hope you guys appreciate this mission. It's 32 degrees today. Holy shit. All right, we've made it up the hill. I hope the audio's not too crappy without my wind filter on. Trying to film in some spots which is out of the breeze. So typical me, the way that I chose to get up the hill was absolutely soul destroying. But we've definitely got something here. Check this out. So hey, look at this, guys. This could be one of the main shafts. Wowee. Yeah, this is actually hinged. I'll need my big torch to see down there. I'll just go back and grab it, guys. This is definitely one of the main shafts. So remember what I was saying a little bit earlier, one of the shafts here was only 60 feet. There was another one that was, well, I won't mention the name of it. It's the bigger shaft in the middle of the old workings. And then 2 or 3 were extended, one just under 200 feet. It could be this one. I can actually hear an echo. I'll just head back and get my torch, guys, and we'll check it out. All right, let's have a look. It's only a little one. Definitely though, a little drive off to the west. That's pretty cool. I'll drop a little rock down there and you'll see it disappear down there. Check this out, see if it disappears. Oh, whoa. That drops down into a big chamber, big stope. Cool. Did you guys hear that? Check this fella out, guys. Been trekking for a while now. There's a big adit down the bottom that I'll show you guys in a sec. It's all sealed up and it's very clearly says danger, no access. And it looks like there's a steel door inside of it. And then this is pretty common for mines. So although this is only probably 30 feet up the hill, this would have had some warm air be pulled down into the drift, and it would start the convection, that air convection, to effectively act as the miner's air conditioning. So they only need this to start it, and if there's another air shaft, you know, it could be 300 feet into the hill, maybe, you know, 200 feet underground, it would actually start to pull the air out of the adit. And this is the air shaft that would start the cycle. So we see these all the time. They're all in about the same distance, around about 20 or 30 feet, just on top of the hill from the adit. And this one's pretty cool, because they're flood proof, this one. And having a look at the adit, there's no way that this is from the 1870s, 1880s. This one's definitely been widened and modernised. You can see some really old cool timbers. Check that out. And again, it's been gated up really well. I'd say they've dropped that down there because the mine was operational not so long ago, so any rock falls actually didn't go down into the drift. Probably tells me it's a pretty big level. We'll go down and have a look at this thing. Check this one out, guys. Nice big landing. Some huge old timbers. Oh, look at the size of this portal. It's all gated up. There are some scumbags. They haven't even left room for the bats. There are some scumbags that come in and get their welders and get into there. I mean, this one's in National Park, but a lot of effort's gone in to seal this one up. That's a really old Budweiser bottle up there. But the height of this drift would be 8 feet high, 10 feet wide. How cool is that? Again, I don't know if they would have bored something in this big back in the day. This could be the more modern workings. There definitely would have been some rail coming off here at one stage. Here we go. So that looks like a main haul line. And then just up above there is just where we did the filming just there. That's where the air would drop down Well, the air actually doesn't drop down, hot air doesn't drop, but what happens is the convection starts with the air that draws out of the mine. That pulls the air down, and then what causes that to do in turn, it cools, and it starts the convection, and then that pulls the air from way into the workings. I mean, how far it can pull the air out from is sort of infinite. It's a vacuum effect. If they did that, they wouldn't have to use equipment and electricity to power the big engines for the blowers. They may have still needed those two in a working this big. That's awesome. All right, let's keep exploring. We've still got heaps to see, guys.
Oh, we're just having a look at this one with the big torch. You can actually see, I hope you guys can see through there. You can see the bottom of the drift just through that cage there. That's so cool. We'd love to get down there. That'd be awesome. We feel the cool air flowing down there. Oh shit, another wasp. My God. Another one. I've had 3 today. I can't handle a 4th. God. Got stung once, then got stung again and dropped my phone. And I had to use my watch to go back and pair where my phone was in the bush. Got stung again. There's just wasps everywhere. Jesus. Yeah, that's a really cool look down there. That's awesome.
Oh, check this out, guys. This is why we love doing these massive missions. Look at this big hopper. Holy shit, it's a truck. Hope you guys can see that. I don't want to collapse any of it. This is a truck that they've converted into a plant. That's awesome. See if I can get around underneath it, guys, get a better shot of it. Check this out, guys. This is awesome. Ooh. If I had to have a guess, I'd say the last claim that we're just at was probably maybe even late 70s or 80s, judging by the OH&S signs out the front. Oh wow. How cool is that? I'll try and get a good shot without absolutely stacking it. That is so cool. So I don't know if that would have been driving when they've got it in here. They've converted. Does anyone know what, again, I think I've told you in my Wombar episode that don't really know my brands of trucks. If anyone knows what that is, drop a comment. But I can see a classifier sitting down here. Oh, this is epic. I can see a wasp nest in there. I'm not going in there. That would be sting number 4. So you can see they've cribbed up the wall. This is what we come to see, guys. Even if we don't find a mine today. So there should be a working just to the southeast of this, because they wouldn't have put this here. And they are way too big to be normal riffles. So I'm not too sure what's going on there. There's a lot of things I say when it comes to me finding gold processing equipment, and a lot of our followers know a lot more, and we've actually got a couple of followers which are gold miners or were gold miners. G'day guys, you guys know who you are. If you can piece together this bit of equipment, let us know. How cool. Let's go look for a mine. Alrighty guys, we found some reprieve from the heat. We found a little mine. Don't know how far back it's going to go. Lots of moths in here. Let's have a squiz, hey guys. Alright, we'll see how far back this little fella's going to go. Can't feel any breeze. It's hard to dictate whether you're feeling breeze or not in the mine, because it's so nice to be in the cool. Alright. You see my torch is dimming, guys. I've got a friggin' faulty torch. A faulty $450 torch. Absolutely spewing. It just keeps going dull like that. Alright, I've had some water in here recently. We got a junction coming up. Alright. What do we got here? Now they're meant to be into black slates. And although there's over 150 shafts This is one of the only adits. Oh cool, we got a junction. We got a two-way junction. We got an incline shaft. We got a truckload of bats. And we got plenty of good oxygen. We're still at 20.9, not dropping at all. If you ever see bats, it's almost a guarantee that you're going to stay in that good air. All right, we might try our best to let the bats be. There's less of them in this drift, so we might shoot down here, guys. Have a look. You see this has been flooded top to bottom at one stage. Nice cool mine after an absolute slog of a day. I'll try and keep the cameras steady for you. We've got no interest in geology yet, because this is a cross cut. So we're doing working to get into the Monte Carlo Reef that I mentioned earlier in the video. I hope you guys appreciate the age, guys, of these mines. This reef was discovered in 1860. It's only a few years after gold was very first discovered in Queensland. We've been in mines in 1889. We've explored mines from 1887 when the gold was discovered in 86. These are old workings. This one's going on forever. Oh shit! You've got to get low and let their bats use their sonar. Alright, still going around the corner. Shit. Sorry if the camera shakes, guys, but I've got to tilt my miner's lid down just a little bit lower than my eyes. The bats have amazing sonar, but I really don't want to hit any of them. If anyone knows what species of bats these are, drop a comment. They are the coolest little dudes ever. Alright, we're still going, guys. It's going up a bit of an incline. This is a cool little mine. Got some survey markings up here in the wall. Oh. Might have a tiny bit of airflow for the first time. There we go. That's our first little deposit of quartz. It's tiny. Like if it's 2 inches thick, just there. Let's see if we can find some more. Got some old timbers in here. See an old timber jammed in the wall there, or the ribs I should say. It looks like we might be coming to either an incline or a dead end. And I've got an Australian echidna. I don't want to disturb him. Oh, right. Here we go. Can you all see the little echidna up there sleeping away? I incorrectly called one a hedgehog on TikTok and got absolutely crucified. So yeah, no. Oh, what have we got my ammeter doing? He's in here, so it can't be bad. Probably just a bit of ICO, I'd say. Let's get a tiny little look at this hedgehog and then we'll go back. Oh bloody hell, I did it again, echidna. I'll zoom in on that. Just turn my torch down so I don't blind him. There he is. Hey little guy. Alright, let him sleep. He's got a wicked little house up in there. You can see there's a bit of water dripping through the back of the mine. A little blast hole just off to the side there. Bit of a drill steel or tamp rod just left there in the rib. And there we go. That's a bit of a quartz stringer just sitting there. You can see some little crystals in it. I'll give you guys a look at it. There we go, that's what they're after. There is one mine here that's got an open stope. That's got a, oh Jesus, gotta stop doing that. There's one mine here that's got an open stope that the quartz belly's out to just a tad over 7 feet. And I think the early gold rush here started, like I've said many times, in the 1860s. A guy took a 15-ounce nugget down into town, and that was enough to start a huge rush. Just going to stop recording, guys. You guys have already seen this. I'll just get back to the junction and we'll explore the other side of that drift. See you guys in a sec. Alrighty gang, on our way back out. Snap some photos, say goodbye to Mr Echidna. Let's go. Get a little bit of bad air in here. We were hoping that it did link up to an air shaft, but it does not. Maybe the other one does come up and under, and that's why this one's got some crook air. Remember, the air doesn't have to be full of dangerous gases. It can just be low oxygen. You've got the remnants of an old blast hole there. Really patchy stringers of quartz. The amount of miners that gave up these claims was insane. Alright, we got bats and more bats in this one. That's the way back out. Let's see. I can hear the roar of the bats. Give me a sec, guys. So at the moment, I'm just crab walking, trying to keep the head down. The bats are in this drift. It's another indicator that this is the one with the better oxygen. We cannot let the bats go outside, get taken by an eagle, God knows. I think it only just goes up and stops here, guys, but what I'm just letting them do, they're just passing by and just going out behind me. So far we've probably seen about, let me keep in count, about 70 little micro bats in this mine. One junction was around about 80 metres, and it looks like this one could just dead end just there, but we'll go check it out. Still really cool. Whoa! Okay, let's make that probably triple that. There's probably 60 or 70 bats just there. Maybe this does keep going. Come on, little fellas. They've got amazing sonar. All right, head down. That's too many bat, guys. When they get stressed, they can run into you. We're heading out straight away. There's probably 200-300 bats in this entire mine. Let's leave them be, hey? Gotta stay really low. And definitely some crook air. When we first started exploring mines, we do look back at some of the places that we ventured into. None of those are on YouTube. And we're probably pretty irresponsible when it comes to bats. Now, why can I feel airflow here? It is screaming out from somewhere. Odd. Alright, time to get out of this one, guys. We'll keep exploring. Alrighty, guys, we've just dropped down into this big stope. Got these big timber stoles bracing the hanging wall and the footwall. Now, it is possible to get down. Alright, just watch out because I'm going to bring some stuff down. I don't want to get the back of your leg. Look out. Wowzers.
Number one level.
Wow. They've cleaned the whole fault out, haven't they? You can see daylight up the other side. So they are the old stoping platforms. That looks dodge. That looks nasty. Someone's put a bit of timber though. I mean, where's it going to go though?
Enough goes through.
And keeps going. Oh, there's like corrugated iron up there and everything. Far out. Well, I don't think we should, because the only way to do it is over it, isn't it?
Can you see if there's anything interesting on the other side? I think it's got rebar above it on that end.
Alright guys, we're sinking down the open stope, open because it goes all the way. We're getting such a nice breeze through here. You can see some beautiful old timbering up there. That's pre-1900 stuff. You can actually tell. Are you alright? I've just come up and I'm just sort of teetering on a bit of a false floor. I'm just trying to get through this part of the stope to see if it actually goes into the older workings. So we're thinking this is originally the main shaft, which, oh yeah, the breeze up here is worth it just alone. Nah. So I'd say it's the old main shaft, and then they've come down and stoped it out. This is a classic example of what we were talking about earlier on, guys. They sunk a shaft, there probably would have been 2 more shafts along the same strike, and at the depth they got the best value, they've just gone to town. And remember I said the best value was under or no deeper than 60 feet, and we're probably only about 60 feet underground. That's really cool. If I could have gone back in time, I would have been a miner's carpenter for sure. So cool. Alright guys, let's stop and get some photos and then we'll scramble out of this one. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's adventure. If you're watching this, you've already seen the Copper Mine Creek episode. That would have aired around early March. And depending on how long this one takes to edit, and I mean, the editing only takes about 12-14 hours to get it done properly, but we work a lot of hours. So this one will probably be first Friday night in April. All right, see you guys when I'm back at the car. Alrighty guys, there was someone on my TikTok about 2 months ago that called me the Russell Coit of mining. I got really upset and I deleted it. But today I'm going to pay it. And what did I say about 6 hours ago? I said Blake's probably coming up on some sort of air-conditioned freeway. I just bush bashed with about an inch of my life, contemplated turning back even though I've driven 7 hours to be here. Blake's come up on this pretty much the whole way back to the car, so typical.
Well guys, that wraps up today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, and just taking you back just a couple of minutes to the footage of that open stope that you guys could see with a beautiful old timber work in there. All those ground supports and the stalls they had to put in to span across the deposit. Just wanted to share a little story with you guys how they actually clean that out. Now I need you guys to understand where this is. This is late 19th century. The main era of this mine was 1860 to just before World War I. That's when the most active period of the mine was. Now, because of the actual span of the stope only being 2 foot in some spaces, there was a lot of hard work, and a lot of the time they couldn't actually get their air lines and their pneumatic drills in to actually set the charge holes. What these hardcore old-timers had to do is actually lob off the edge. You remember the year that it is, there's no safety harnesses like we've got today. The guys are probably using hemp ropes. These guys had to single jack, so hand chisel out the charge holes. They'd then be winched back up. That's if they weren't working on a stoping platform. They then have to get the powder man to lob over the edge, probably on the same rope, set the charge holes, light the charges, and then clean out the vein. Now imagine how many years they would have to do that for. And it's legendary stories like these that lead us out to these awesome sites and that continued fire to share these stories with you guys. Now, as far as what's next for Queensland Abandoned Mines, today's date is the 8th of March. We're only just putting the finishing touches on this, still got a fair bit to edit, and we believe this will edit early April. By that stage, we'll be up north on another huge mission. It's some massive old workings. It's probably one of the most exciting trips that we've got planned for the year so far. And like we said in the intro, things will be pretty slow from here. We're probably aiming at getting about 1 video out every month or every 2 months, because as you guys can appreciate with the info we gave you, it's now going to take us a lot more time and a lot more planning, and there's even some potential of flights and car hires and possibly interstate mine workings that we've got to get to. So yes, there's a lot of abandoned mines, but a lot of them are on private property, and again, there's one thing that we'll never do is just jump over a fence. That would be extremely disrespectful, so we've got to go through the right processes to try and get property access. And as you guys can probably appreciate, a lot of freehold lease landowners don't want them explored, let alone filmed and shared on social media. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and if you like today's adventure, whether it be the mining history, the mines themselves, or just some flat out hectic adventuring in the heat, share it with a buddy and friend, and as always, subscribe and hit the little bell icon, and you'll be able to stay up to date with all of our future video releases. Thanks again.